Welcome to the show. My name is Joy Doreen Bira, and just like I mentioned earlier, we're coming to you live from Wow Beverages in Nairobi, to be specific, in Kileleshwa, Nairobi, Kenya. And we are talking wine. As you can see in my background, there is all kinds of wines. There's Pinotage and there's Sauvignon for people who understand these different categories. But for those of us who don't quite understand how the wine industry is or how it even operates, even just differentiating between the different wines, be afraid not, because we're just about to learn more about wine. And well, joining me now, we have the customer executive here at Wow Beverages, that is Sarah Kihumba. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joy.
So when you talk about wine, all that people think about is a very upmarket. But tell us about, the wine industry at the moment in Kenya.
Currently, Joy, the wine industry, we realize that right now the rising middle class, we have people shifting now from people who used to take typically spirits. They will start buying at least the entry-level wines. Entry-level wine, I mean a bottle that is less than 1,000 shillings from 600 bob.
Right.
Then what we realize is with these starters, they'll always start with sweet on the palate. Then as they develop, now we'll come to the connoisseur wine, where a bottle will now typically go for about from 2,000 up to, we even have bottles going for about 20,000 each.
Right.
But it all starts with the entry-level wine.
It starts with the entry-level wine. So a lot of people as well, just both the consumers and maybe, let's say, the rising middle class that you also target in this industry. Most of them don't quite understand the difference between different wines. And yes, I know we have red sweet wine, we have dry sweet wine, we have the dry white wine, and then the dry red wine. But probably just for the sake of educating us, do you import this wine? Is it all imported, or is some locally manufactured?
Well, Wow Beverages, we deal with imports. We import from our key regions are South Africa, Argentina, Chile, Spain, Italy, and New Zealand. Now, with the sweet wine, there are regions that will not focus on sweet wine because already they are developed. They are old winemakers, so they feature more the dry wine. For the sweet, South Africa and some bit of Chilean. And again, that is the category I was calling the entry level, because you'll find their wines will be below 1,000 and they'll have the sweet, medium sweet. Now, talking about the different kinds, it might sound like Greek to many. The Cabernet Sauvignon, you're talking the Sauvignon Blanc, the Chenin Blancs. These are the grapes that actually make the wine.
Right.
Now, with the sweet wine, they blend some of these grapes because they make, for the high-end wine, they'll take the first best bit of the process. Then the sweets will be combined, so you'll find that it will have different grapes. Merlot thrown in with Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's how they go about the winemaking.
All right, so you said all of your wine is imported.
Yes.
Actually. So you have wine from France, you have that from Argentina, you have Italy, you have South Africa as well, and Spain. But which one, can you be specific on which one is more on demand, or does it all depend on the kind of wine you're looking for?
I believe South Africa. South Africa is more popular.
Why so?
Because one thing, they've invested in their winemaking. They make actually very, very good wines, like the Stellenbosch. These are established wine houses. Number two, I think it also has something to do with their pricing. Very flexible. You can get a bottle for about 600 bob, like this Kulenberg range.
Right.
This is wine that is also being served as, they call it the wine from the wine list, the main list. 600 bob going all the way to 9,000 bob. So they offer variety. If you want a high-end wine, you will get very good from South Africa. If you want medium level, so they play around with quality and price point.
All right, so let's demystify some of the myths that we do know about wine. Some people tend to think that wine is probably for the upmarket, luxurious people, but try to just enlighten people out there who probably would like to try it out, but they probably just don't know how to even where to start. Every time somebody walks into a wine shop, some of them are not even so sure what wine they're looking for. All they're looking for is the taste. They just want sweet wine or they want dry wine. But let's demystify some of those myths.
Actually, we are, as Wow Beverages, we are getting into educating people about wine. And I think that is what is contributing to the shift. People opting to try now wine vis-a-vis the spirits. When we go, we're having even activations. like we would have to our key suppliers. At Nakumat, you can go and find ladies there trying to tell people, if you're talking about Sauvignon Blanc, this is how it tastes. If you're talking about a dry, because there are different descriptions. It can be dry, but on the fruity side, dry.
Right.
So it all goes about educating people, and that will involve even tasting. Because you can only know these bottles from the name, but until you taste it, that's the time you'll get to know whether we are saying. Actually, some people can't even tell when you say sweet or dry. To them,
like
wine is wine.
any wine.
Wine
All
is
right.
wine.
So we're here to get into the education, and I think Wangari is going to be educating us about what we need to know about wine, how we can differentiate them, and also at least be an expert to an extent when it comes to picking the best wine for yourself or your loved ones. But let's talk about the business side of it. Since you started, probably if you can take us through the journey. When you started, who were you targeting, and how's the business doing now? If it is doing well, can you be able to share the numbers with us?
Well, the business started off from a very, if I would call it, small aspect, and I think our chairman had the vision of supplying just a few restaurants. Then they tapped the opportunity, and eventually it now rose to, right now we are supplying to different on-trade, I mean the restaurants and all, off-trade, we're talking about supermarkets. So the opportunity that was, we tapped into it, and comparing when we started off about over 15 years ago, and now, clearly we see that we haven't even tapped into the entire wine industry, and we are still seeing other players coming in. But we are now trying to give ourselves an edge by trying to understand even the consumer, so that we get to at least fit in within everybody. It's a lifestyle, so we want to inculcate that and make people get to know wine as a lifestyle.
All right, wine as a lifestyle and getting to know it as so. But are there any challenges you experience in the business? Because every business has challenges. I would like to know, I'm curious to know about the challenges in the wine business.
Key, I think, would be legislation. We have so many of these, like the county government. There's also the liquor, like NACADA. Definitely when they make out some of these policies, they may not be in our favor. I think last year we were really hard hit when they were talking about because when they roll out like a policy and they don't communicate what they mean with these policies, it directly affects us. Because when we make everyone think that, like for instance, that time it was the spirits mostly, but the moment they make everyone think, oh, this is bad, without exactly saying there are others who are genuine and stuff like that, that becomes a challenge for the business.
All right. So who are your major customers? Are they Kenyans, or would you say they are more of the expatriates that you look at as your key customers?
Our key customers, funny enough, are Kenyans right now. We have the expats, yes, but the Kenyan population right now, they've actually started appreciating. And every so often, if I was to rate it, out of every 10 clients, I have more than 6 Kenyan clients. The 4 now would be maybe expats and maybe people who, let's say experts.
All right. And for many as well who would like to get into a business like this one, I'm thinking that when you were starting it, there was a certain amount of money that was invested in. Have you gotten to a point where you're now making profits out of it?
We are actually enjoying profit from our business. At the end of the day, business is not business until you're starting to make the money.
Right.
But because we've also understood, there were times when it was really difficult, but it's a learning process. You had asked earlier about challenges, like if your consignment is held at the port, for instance, and there are timelines within which the stock ought to be out, you incur maybe demurrage charges and stuff like that. So, but once you understand the business and you get into it, you can start making, we are making money.
Do you have specific peak seasons when the demand goes up? I know for some people who are interested in Valentine's Day, they probably are thinking of a bottle of wine somewhere, or just making sure that they take care of their loved ones. But do you have peak seasons? And if yes, when are those seasons?
Let me say our peak seasons will be close to Easter, as we get to Easter, and October, November, December, as we roll into festivities, because that is when most of the activities happen. There's company parties, appreciations, weddings, so all these come mostly towards the end of the year. But to January to April, it's mostly a dry month.
What about Valentines? There are a lot of people who are out there, you know, trying to get a bottle of wine for girlfriends, wives, and all that, and husbands, boyfriends. You know, how is the peak season, or does it pick a bit in February towards the 14th?
Towards the 14th, it peaks, but not as much, because again with Valentines, some people will opt again for different treatments altogether, like maybe even on a holiday away or something. But it does peak, but not as good as other festivities.
All right, so and we also have upcoming bars and lounges as well as hotels. Do you also supply to them?
Yes, now we supply to them under the on-trade that we were speaking about, the hotels, restaurants, and but we are supplying to most of these people. Kempinski, we're supplying to the likes of Lyco. We actually command quite a good coverage on those accounts.
All right, interesting. So very shortly we are going to be speaking to Wangari Njiba, who is a wine educator. I just wanted to tell us a bit about what we need to know about wine, how we need to differentiate it. If you actually take a look at the white wine, for instance, I would say I'm not so good at finding the best white wine. I would buy with the red, but then I would still also not be perfect. So Wangari is telling us a bit about that, and also how best we should be prepared when you're going out there. How do you even start tasting the wine to identify which one is the best? TN News, we're going to talk a brief break, but when we return, the wine educator will tell us more. And also, remember, we're going to be talking about the business dress code. Konya Loch, stylist, award-winning fashionista as well, is going to be talking to us about that. When you're going for a cocktail where there's wine served, how are you supposed to be dressed? And also the formal business etiquette as well. So do watch out for that. So these